you lovely people, welcome to my channel, welcome back to my channel if you've been here before. My name's Kirsten, this is where I art and craft and play with these luscious stamps. I'm just going to take them out of the shiny pockets. I have already, and I'll link it below if you haven't seen it, made a masterboard using these painty smooshy papers, these labels which I printed, stamped, whatever way you want to call it, onto Amazon brown paper packaging, and these come from Botanical, these Tracie Fox Creative Stamps, Botanical Lab Identification, which is all these. Try and stop that, that's glaring as much. All these stamps, and it's TFC 2511. Now, she hasn't done 2,511 stamp sets, so I think the 25 is for 25, and maybe this is the 11th one, even though they're not all come out. I don't know. But we've got a TFC 2511. We have, and that's these. We have a Botanical Lab Mini. Now, I understand this is the one that was Mini 6. This is, in fact, this was sold out, but should be back in stock at the end of this week. And if I hadn't, this one is just fabulous. I love this little one and this little one, and this here has become a favourite very quickly, and these funny ones, and then we've got some numbers and a signature, and it might be mini in size, but it's mega in lusciousness, I'm telling you. That one I made, oh, where have I put them? They're in here. I made these, so I stamped this on with archival peat moss on some tissue paper, and I used them on masterboards. I used these on masterboards. I'll link the masterboard video below if you want to see the masterboards getting made. So I've used these ones, I've used these ones, and I've used some of these ones as well that have got the, I didn't use these ones at the time because I'd started to get so much. I thought, right, don't stamp those last ones up, there'll be other time for that. But I'm now using the mushroom ones, and I'm using these ones again as well. So we've got the Botanical Lab Fungi Findings, which is our mushrooms. Now, let me just get this sorted out again. So what we are doing today, well, I've already done some, so I'll show you what I've already done, and then we'll make a few together and finish a few, because there's a few I haven't finished actually. These are wee bits and pieces I've already done. So I've made all these green ones. I did these backgrounds just with watercolour. Long before Distress Oxide was a thing, or certainly long before I knew about Distress Oxide, graduated watercolour paints was what I used to play with. And this, for example, is, you've got all this dark green, you've got a bit of brown, you've got some oranges. These were all, is one single paint, one single watercolour paint from Daniel Smith. It's called Serpentine. It's that one down there. It's one of my favourites. It's that one there, Serpentine green, and it just moves, and when it's dried it's graduated into all these different colours. So I did this, that's the green, which is the background of that, and I wanted quite a green, a bright background, because so that it will show off against the masterboard. I've splashed probably about half of them. I splashed with some gold ink. I've added bits of this material I dyed, which was an old something or other. Some of them have got, this is an old paper fastener, and this, I just kind of put these on with a paper clip. I threaded some fabric through on there. This is for a paper finder. I just did a dots around that one. That one I did a, yep. So, and some of these I've used the stamps on, some of them I've used some of the paper bits on, some of them I've coloured in the mushrooms, some of them I've left the mushrooms plain. But this is all, so that's all the green ones, they're all done. I also did it with this. Now this one I used two colours in the background of this one, and some of these ones not really finished those ones. This has got two colours. This has got buff titanium and bronze genuine, so there is a little bit from the bronze genuine. Some of them have a bit more, you can see there's a wee bit of, it's not really glitter, but there's just a wee bit of, oh, there's something there, kind of. Now, what you can see is some of these I have done, and some of these, I haven't done those two. They're all waiting to be finished. These ones have all been, that one hasn't been, those three haven't been done. So I did the watercolour backgrounds, and then after I'd done the watercolour backgrounds, I stamped on my mushroom stamps. Yeah. And then what I now need to do, and I've done with all the rest, but I need to do these final ones. If I can find my paintbrush, there it's there. That's not the paintbrush I was looking for though. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put water on my paintbrush. Oh, that one has been done. I'm going to lay the water on top of the mushroom. Now, if you're going to do this, you must use permanent archival, permanent, not an oxide or a water soluble ink pad. And then if you just run your dry brush over where the wet is, it will lift the dissolved paint. Now you might have to do some of it a couple more times. And if you've got your paper very wet when you were laying down your paint in the first place, you might not be able to lift it all off, because you might have ended up making it soak right into your card or your paper. So just be aware of that when you're doing it. You can see how that just kind of lifts the paint. But you lift it off with a dry brush. You won't get it lifting off if your brush is wet. You'll just end up spreading the paint around. You need to lift it off, sweep it up and lift it off. And you might wonder, well, why are you doing that? Well, there's two reasons. Firstly, when I add more colour on top, I don't want it reacting with the stuff underneath and then making the colour muddy and changing the colour I think that's going on top. And secondly, because I quite like some of them not to have any colour at all, and it still has quite a bit of colour on it. Just leave that for a wee while, I think. There is another way of doing that, and that is making a mask of your mushroom, deciding where your mushroom's going on the card or on the full-size sheet before you watercolour, and then watercolouring over it, and then removing whether it's masking fluid or a mask that you'd cut out, removing that and stamping in the gap. But actually that's an awful lot of work and an awful lot of faff. There we go, that's lifted that off. So I'll let that dry before I do anything more on that one. Here's that one. I can't make up my mind whether that one's, I don't think it has lifted off. I think it has still got paint on it there. It's just obviously quite a pale bit of the card. Let's just lift off this one as well. Oh yeah, it's lifting off colour. If you start trying to lift a lot off, even if you have, like this is archival ink which doesn't dissolve, or it's water fast. This is actually versifying I've used on here. What you will find is you'll start to lift off bits of, there's a particular one, if I can find it. I did it on one of the green ones which I then coloured, and then I thought I'll do it on purpose on one of these ones so I can show you this one here. See how pale this one's got? That's just because I kept on lifting and kept on lifting and kept on lifting and kept on lifting. And you eventually start lifting off bits of the paper. It's not that the ink isn't water resistant, it's the fact that you started lifting off bits of the paper if you put too much water on. So I'm not going to show you me doing all of these because you don't really want to watch me doing all of them. Well, this is all these, the water off these ones. I'm not going to show you decorating them, all of them, but let's just show you a couple. We've got these, let's use this one and this one. So there's several things we can do. Let's start by, if I show you this here, see I've roughed this one right up. I like this one because it's all kind of roughed up. It needs something else on it yet. This one here, I've done this corner, and I did that corner using this stamp. And if you just put the ink on this, then you can create corners. So let's just get gathered twigs. I've got a new big gathered twigs. And we just put that in that corner. And just the same, turn the thing round and just put that one in that corner. Oh, I've got, but you know what, that doesn't matter. But that's because I've not mounted it. Let's mount it, and then you won't be doing that, Kirsten. That was very silly of me. Right, so let's just put that in that corner, and then that one in that corner. So this one has got one on. This one I've put all four corners on it because it's a bigger stamp, and it just gives a different look when you do all four corners. Now I need to remember that, however, is not permanent, so I can't now go back to that with anything wet, or it will start moving. But we can certainly put some labels on of some kind or other. I think a square one down in this corner covering up that little boo-boo would be good. So let's see, we've got that one there, we could put that in. Then how about another square one actually underneath like that, and then maybe, well, maybe a bit of fabric, or we could put a bit of that. Let's put a bit of that underneath these. Put that underneath these, and then put those on top. No, you don't get any of that really, do you? So I don't want to do that. Put those there. And the other thing you can do actually, and maybe I'll do that, is you can actually take one of the labels and actually stamp make sure I've got it the right way up. So you can stamp straight onto here as well. Might put a bit of fabric. I'm just wondering whether just to put one label with a bit of fabric underneath there actually. Do I want to put that one or that one? It might be a bit it needs to go on the side of the mushroom, I think. That's too big. There's the thinner stuff. Here we go. I think we just want a little thin bits on here. Yeah, I prefer that. It's a bit too big, but I prefer that. So let's, do I prefer it with the red? No, because the red has to be too far over that way to hide that splodge, and then the red's too small. So let's do it this way. Let's put, okay, and some of these I'm inking up and some of them I'm not, and it's just kind of when I look at them whether I feel that I want to ink them up or not, basically. Let's colour these. So a lot of the colour on these is done with greys. I've used two things. I've used, to a lesser extent, I've used zig pens, and I've used zig pens when you see something that's kind of a bit, there's one here that's kind of a bit purpley. That's using zig pens. The kind of ones that are more, these kind of mustardy and orangey ones are done with Pitt pens from Faber-Castell. This is their grey set. Pitt Artist Pen Brushes is the, this is grey, yes, it's just called grey, this set, and it has cool greys and warm greys. It has an ivory, and it has a 0.3 black fine liner. So that's those ones. And then this one is the Earth Tones. I love this set, and this is what I've done probably the majority of the mushrooms with, using the greys from that for when I've wanted to do some shading down the, well, I'll show you. Okay, I'll try and remember and tell you which colours I'm using as I'm doing. On the whole, I'm using warm grey 207, which is just warm grey. It's not number. 207 is the pit number for it. I'm also using warm grey 7, which is their number 272. And I have used a couple of times the cold grey, which has got a bluey tinge to it. I'll use that cold grey here. And because it's got a bluey tinge, it tends to be more kind of highlighting rather than shadow. So let's do that down these, because most of these mushrooms, see there, you can see that they're shadowed on the left hand side. So let's use this cold grey just to put some highlights on that side, and then we're going to use the warm grey to put some low lights on this side, and just do the rest of the stalks. And that kind of frilly bit at the top, and then we'll use warm grey 7, I think I might have said 8, but it's warm grey 7, just to do what's the actual shadow down there. And you can see that it really gives. I'm actually going to make this mushroom down the bottom, put a bit of warm grey on it as well. You can see how it really just, that's 3 greys, but it's just changed how that mushroom looks. And then I'll use the raw umber for this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw it down the darkest side and along most of the bottom, because this particular mushroom is one of those that curls up underneath the bottom, so it'll be darker down underneath. You don't really see much of the gills underneath on this kind of mushroom at all. Right, so we'll just go along the bottom like that, and then I'm going to take my paintbrush and put some water on it and just kind of, nope, put more water than that, and just kind of spread that colour a wee bit over so that it's you wouldn't, I mean, you can do this any way you want. This is just how I do it, which isn't the correct way, but it is my way. Well, maybe it is the correct way as well, but it's the way I do it. Just bring that down there behind that, and sometimes you just play about a bit. You've got to be careful you don't end up like I've ended up, just added a bit too much water so it's spread outside the line there. So when that's finished, once that's dried, I'll take the liner and just go around this one here. You can see I went round. Some of them need to go round, some of them don't. It just depends. But going round just finishes it off. The other thing I do with these ones that have a lot of greenery at the bottom of them, I take one of the ferns, and it can really be any of them, it doesn't need to be a particular one. And this is my peat moss archival from Ranger, and I just add some green at the bottom there. Just take it on the tip. You've got that bit there that's quite, and it just, I mean, it's not terribly visible because there's a lot of quite dark stamping down the bottom, but it just stops it kind of being a bit, what's the word I want, but it just gives it a bit more interest rather than that a kind of dark. Sometimes it's the kind of little mushroom roots which are different. It's these ones that are set in the ground. I just like to do a wee bit of, sometimes I do it with a pen, but actually I just like that this particular stamp, just the tip of this stamp, it just gives a nice kind of, you get the odd bit that kind of comes out like a leaf, but you just get this idea of it's sitting there in some moss. Right, I might just leave that on there just now. Right, I'm going to let that dry before I do the lines, because I've used some water on that. Let's have a look at this one. Now, this one is a bit, there is one in the green, there it's there. I've kind of done like a kind of fairy mushroom. You do get mushrooms like that. And maybe we'll do this one like that as well. And this time, I'm not going to colour the mushroom in at all. I'm just going to use one of the cold greys. I'm using a cold grey 3 just to do the shadow down there. And as I said, the cold greys have a kind of bluey tinge to them. And also to go underneath, there's the gills of this time. You can see the gills, so the gills are both sides of the stalk. Don't go over the stalk, but do go up in that. And then I'm just going to do a couple of little lines getting shorter along there for a bit of shading underneath the stalk. And I'm going to leave the rest of that stalk as is, just with the paint lifted off. There's a tiny bit still of the buff titanium, but I'm okay with that, that's fine. And this time we're going to go for a more ready, so we're going to go for cinnamon, which is that one. Yeah, that one. No, let's go for the sanguine. Let's go for a red one, shall we? Let's go for kind of red. Let's go for sanguine and go kind of ready. So let's start with putting, I picked up the terracotta, haven't I? Well, that was silly. Well, let's just have a terracotta one instead then. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do that because that's kind of partly shading there. And this time I am actually going to colour it all in. But I'm going to go around those kind of dots. This is really, I'm never quite sure of the difference, but when it has these dots in it like this, I think it's more of a toadstool than a mushroom. But I'm prepared to be told I'm wrong in that. Right, now I could leave that like that because that's quite white already, but if I want to make the white really stand out, I could get my bleed proof ink out. Oh, that's the door, I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. What was I doing? I was going to get the white for that, but actually looking at it now, I think I quite fancy leaving it. I think if I put the white it might be a bit too stark. So I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to put the white on it, but let's do the line round this because that will have dried. You can see where it's bled out a bit there, so it just, if you put a line round it, it just defines it once more. There we go. Oh. Right, this is the one I'm doing now, isn't it? So I don't feel like this needs a line around it because it's actually stayed nicely inside. I haven't used any water on this one, but we do need to put something else round about here again. So maybe this time we will use a bit of something like that, using that bit of that fern, and maybe with a bit of what's already attached to things. Let's see, I knew there was a wee bit somewhere. Maybe a bit kind of, no, I don't think having a bit hanging there as well, but do I want to put this on here? You see, I'm thinking of cutting off that bit and just using that bit. I did do this, but I thought this would actually go on a particular one. What one was that? That was one with a bit to the side. That was this one, wasn't it? Because it was the one I'd finished. But I want to, oh yes, I like that on it. Right, okay, hold on. This is what happens when I'm creating. I start working on one bit and then I get an idea for another bit, or I see something that I was going to do but couldn't do it at the time, so I go back and do that. No, do I want to? No, I think I'm going to leave this square. There we go. Liking that. I'm just going to get one of my stickers from up here. I just stick on the back of when I put things through. Even though this is going to, I'm foreseeing this being stuck on a page, I still just want to make sure that those aren't going to catch anything. So that one finished. This one here, I was going to put a bit of material in behind this as well, wasn't I? Let's just take that. Put that. That's now both this one. This is a kind of semi-rusty paper clip. That it's just holding on this stamped image that has been stamped on a bit of the masterboard, and that's the same, that's been made from a bit of the masterboard. That's the tag from the kit there with the stamp from the kit, but this bit here, this one of these is because oh, that's in the wrong thing, is one that was stuck on the masterboard. So that's that one and that's that one. Let's see, let's get these other ones that are part done finished, shall we? Now, see, do I want something on that, the other side of that one? I want to put that on there. I'm determined to put this on somewhere, aren't I? I'd quite like it kind of there, so do we have it wrapping round a wee bit like that? Or maybe we just leave that, we don't even wrap that one round, maybe we leave it out like that. As I said, because these have been stuck on, that doesn't matter that that's going to be left out like that. What I might do is I might just clip that to that so it doesn't get torn just now. And then when it gets put in its place, it can be stuck across, and then it's not going to get torn in the meantime. We want that one that we haven't inked this up. I think I want this one inked if it's going to be sticking out. I want this one inked. Now you can see with this one I've stamped with the one that's got like this one that's got real kind of proper leaves, and that just gives that settles that really into the ground. Let's put a bit of, what should we put a bit of on this one? There's some long ones. These are quite good, these long ones. This one I still kind of feel like it needs something down. Actually, do you know what it needs? It needs is a signature that I can stamp. And I think actually just stamping that signature would be enough. It's just a little bit big. I could maybe just stamp the second half of the signature. I might just do that. Let's just do that. Let's use the black. Right, and I just want to stamp a bit that has like the surname on it. I think I might have got the dot, but I'm okay with getting the dot. Do I want to put it that side or do I want to put it this side? I'm going to put it down this corner, I think. Oh, I got that in the inked pad, didn't I? There we go. See, and it had just been, if it had been all the way away, it's just been too close for me. Wouldn't have quite worked. Let's clean that off. Okay, you've got an idea of what I'm doing. I'm going to continue to decorate these to varying degrees. Oh yeah, you see now this one, what I've used is I've used the corners of this fabulous stamp. And that's how I've got these kind of scalloped corners in there. I might actually use, no, I think we need a bit of green down there. I've finished. I've stamped all my images, I've done the colouring in and sticking on of stickers and adding of fabric or metal as I've wanted to. You didn't see me do this. This is my fabulous stapler with old-fashioned copper staples. How cool is that? These could be used as tucks. They could be used as, that one actually could be used as a page tab. They could be used as pockets. You could use these however you wanted to. Journal cards. Put some, actually that one doesn't even need anything. You could just write directly on the back of that. Something like that. You might want to put some stuff because there's a bit of spillage and you've got that sticker on it. You could use these however you wanted to use them. I'm going to use them all to create something else. There'll be a project over the next weekend, the 30th and 31st of August. If you're watching this before that date, you'll have to wait for those to come up. If you're watching after those dates, then they should be linked down below, along with a link to the making of the masterboards. a link to the swatching of the Pitt pens, and a link to where you can buy and how you can buy the stamps. Thank you so much for watching. I've had so much fun playing with these stamps. They are fabulous. They really are fabulous. And they're about more than just occasionally adding something to a page. You can use stamps to create your own, this image of this mushroom still belongs to Tracie. This image of this sample stamp still belongs to Tracie. This image of this number stamp still belongs to Tracie, but nobody else has this combination of these in this colour with that bit of gold splatter on, and the image of that leaf is still Tracie's, but nobody else has it curling round and just touching that mushroom stem like I do now in this image. So you can make them your own. Not you don't own the images, but you've taken Tracie's inspiration and made something out of them that is different from what you started with, which was the images of the individual stamps. And that's why I love this stamp set so much. It's really good quality. It makes lovely crisp images, and I've had so much fun playing with these. I hope you have maybe been inspired a bit to how you might use your stamps, and I hope you've enjoyed this and will be interested to see what I'm now going to do with these. Until then, you take care. Keep crafting. Bye for now. Thanks for watching.